Canada, the 51st state of America. Could this shocking headline actually become reality? Trump has reportedly suggested exactly that. That's right, the former president has floated the idea of Canada joining the United States, even jokingly referring to Justin Trudeau as Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. But before we go into this wild story, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any breaking political news and analysis. Let's break down what's really happening here. In January 2025, Trump introduced a massive 25% tariff on all Canadian imports, claiming it was necessary to address illegal border crossings and the fentanyl crisis, which he says flows through Canada. But here's the kicker. He suggested these economic pressures could disappear if Canada simply became part of the US. A diplomatic negotiation tactic or something more. I'm talking directly to you because this is exactly the kind of story that creates massive confusion online. You deserve to know what's really going on. Canada's reaction? Absolutely fierce. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau didn't mince words, saying, "There's not a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would join the US." Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, usually Trudeau's political opponent, stood firmly with him, declaring, "Canada will never be the 51st state." When was the last time you saw Canadian politicians this united on anything? What's fascinating is how this has sparked unprecedented patriotism across Canada. People are buying more Canadian products, flags are everywhere, and citizens from all political backgrounds are rallying around a single idea. Canadian sovereignty is non-negotiable. Have you ever seen Canadians this passionate about their national identity? But let's think critically about this. Why would Trump push such an idea? It's not just random. Canada holds immense strategic value. Think about it. Canada is packed with natural resources, oil, timber, freshwater, minerals. Plus, merging with Canada would instantly make America the largest country in the world by land area. Power play? Resource grab? Maybe both. Now ask yourself this. Could this actually happen? Technically, yes, but realistically, not a chance. For this merger to work, both countries would need to approve it through votes. Can you imagine Canadians voting to give up their healthcare system, their distinct cultural identity, and their sovereignty? Neither can I. And even in the US, politicians across party lines have dismissed the idea as unrealistic and potentially damaging to America's relationship with its closest ally. Remember when the US and Canada renegotiated NAFTA into the USMCA? Those talks were tense enough. Now imagine trying to merge two entire nations with different governments, currencies, healthcare systems, and cultural identities. The logistics would be mind-boggling. Would we switch to the metric system? Would Canadians have to give up universal healthcare? Would Americans suddenly develop a taste for ketchup-flavored chips and poutine? Here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't the first time the idea has come up in history. Back in 1866, there was actually a bill introduced in Congress proposing the annexation of Canada. It went nowhere. During the War of 1812, the US tried to invade Canada. That didn't work out either. What makes anyone think it would work now? The most fascinating part of this story is how it's affecting everyday Canadians. I've checked social media, and they're using humor to cope. Memes about building their own wall, jokes about teaching Americans to pronounce "about" properly, and hashtags like "Keep Canada Canadian" trending everywhere. When's the last time you saw Canadians this fired up? Let's put this in perspective. Canada has been an independent nation since 1867, with its own constitution, parliamentary system, and national identity. Despite our shared border and many cultural similarities, Canadians value their differences from the US. From their approach to healthcare and gun control to their multicultural policies and relationship with Indigenous peoples, these aren't things Canadians would easily surrender. Think about it this way. If your neighbor suggested that you should just tear down the fence and become one big household, how would you feel? Even if you get along great most of the time, you probably value your independence and privacy, right? That's essentially what's happening here. But here's what I find most telling about this whole situation. It's caused both Americans and Canadians to reflect on what they value about their respective countries. Sometimes it takes a wild proposal to remind us what matters most. For Canadians, it's their distinct national identity. For Americans, it's respecting the sovereignty of our allies. So what happens next? Will these tensions escalate, or will diplomatic solutions prevail? The relationship between the US and Canada has weathered many storms over 200+ years, from trade disputes to boundary questions to disagreements about foreign policy. Through it all, the relationship has remained remarkably stable. Do you think this will be any different? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think Trump's suggestion is just another headline-grabbing statement, or does it signal a real shift in US-Canada relations? Would there ever be circumstances where Canadians might consider joining the US? What would Americans gain or lose from such a merger? Remember, understanding complex international relationships means looking beyond the shocking headlines and considering the historical, cultural, and practical realities at play. If you found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'm committed to bringing you thoughtful breakdowns of major political developments, separating fact from fiction, and helping you make sense of our complex world. Drop your comments below. I genuinely want to know what you think about this topic. Until next time.